What's up, everyone? How's everyone doing out there today? My name's Ian, and you're watching Wildcat MTG. Welcome back. Today I wanted to spend some time talking about the storing and the tracking of your Magic the Gathering collection. I think we spent a lot of time obviously talking about, singles pricing. We talk about, open boxes. We reflect on what cards go in what decks and how cool they are and that sort of thing. But we don't often talk about the aftermath of, okay, we've opened this product. Now I have these cool cards. What am I doing with them? And the really interesting part about, I think, for me is when you talk about Magic the Gathering, if you were to say, define Magic the Gathering for me, right? You could go with the cocktail party Wikipedia version where it's like, well, there's two planeswalkers and they're on the battlefield casting spells. Or if somebody asked you like, hey, can you give me like the 75% less nerdy version of that? I'd be like, yeah. Ultimately, the game of Magic really boils down to resource management. It is a game, a strategy game between two or more players where a lot of it boils down to what moves are you making strategically. And if I think about that, and I think about how that equates to Magic the Gathering, it's interesting that we don't spend more time talking about what we do with our collections. I know some people have asked me like, hey, you open boxes on channel. What do you find yourself doing with all these cards? Obviously there's some mythics and rares that you're going to keep. What do you do with the rest of it? And for me, admittedly, I spend a lot of time looking at Magic the Gathering pricing, whether it's sealed pricing, the cost of sealed boxes. I look at singles pricing. I look at what cards are on the move, because that's something that is that I'm passionate about, something that I genuinely enjoy doing. And I understand that not everyone likes to do that. But I also think that there's a lot of value in actually putting time into tracking your collection and making sure that your storage of your cards and your cards remain in good condition for the long haul. I think one of the beauties of Magic the Gathering is that cards that have no value initially, you never know when a set 5 years from now might come out and make cards that were previously bulk rares all of a sudden very valuable. And I think it's important for you and me to know, hey, do I have copies of this card? How many copies do I have? What is the price of it now? And usually by tracking your collection is the easiest way to actually find those cards, know where they're located, and then also keep an eye on what the pricing of them is, because you never know what cards are going to subtly creep up, and you want to have your finger on the pulse when they do. So talking about the storage thing first, I start out with cardboard boxes. Obviously I'm opening up usually a fair amount of each set, but I like to use these 3,200 count boxes to store a lot of, I itemize these, or I guess I would say I track them by sets, because I'm opening them enough of each set. I know not everyone is opening up 5 or 6 boxes or more from every set, but I find that these particular boxes work for me as far as actually storing a lot of the stuff that isn't going to go in my personal collection. So these are like 3,200 count boxes. Depending on how you feel about like the lands and tokens that come from each of the sets and whether you're keen on keeping those for the long haul, you can store upwards of, I would say almost 6 boxes of draft boxes in one of these. And it makes for me an easier way to keep track of, okay, I can put all of my commons in there, all the uncommons from the set, keep copies of each of those, because sometimes those raise in value as well. I will usually, I go to pre-releases a lot, so I end up with these little pre-release kits and these little dividers within the deck box. So I keep these. I use those as dividers within those 3,200 count boxes. I think it's important if you have. I also think with these storage boxes, they actually makes for pretty convenient storage, because you can pile these up one on top of the other. I have like probably, I would say, maybe 10 high before, and you don't have to worry about it really tipping over or crushing under its own weights or anything like that. So they're very sturdy boxes. They can be a little bit pricey, but for me, again, just investing in the storage and the care of my cards is really important to me. So, if I'm opening up the newest set and I know I'm going to be opening up multiple boxes, I'll throw all the commons in there, all the uncommons in there. And then I'll also keep any of the rares and mythics that are not going to go in like my personal collection. I'll keep those in there. And basically I have those boxes labeled so that if I need, here's Dominaria in here, or, oh gosh, here's Brothers War in this particular box, so that I know and I have them almost tracked by set. If I need to easily recall and go through, cards from a particular set, that I can find that particular box. I have the box, labeled. I have my own little filing system. And then next up, and this is going to be the more tedious part because, I do think it's important to keep those cards in good condition. I think it's important if you have the space to, make sure that they're kept in a really nice temperature controlled environment. You want to make sure that you're not, you want to avoid moisture if at all possible. You don't want the cards, especially with the foils, they have a tendency, they come out of the pack curled sometimes. But this is what I use, again, for me, as far as long-term storage. When I'm opening up, I know I'm going to be opening up multiple boxes of a set. That way I can kind of label these by set and I can quickly and easily find them. Now, as far as the keeping of value is concerned, I personally use the Dragon Shield app that I use for tracking of all of my card prices, all the stuff in my collection. And the way I do it, and I will say, I want to start off by saying I'm not sponsored by Dragon Shield. I actually really like their products and I do use their products. Wouldn't mind, but I'm not sponsored by Dragon Shield. This isn't paid promotion. It's just the app that I know and I use, so it's the best way for me to relate and relay information. I actually started using this particular app for my storage and tracking of my cards before it was actually even a Dragon Shield app. It was previously another company. I was like, oh, this is a nifty little free app. And then it ended up getting bought out by Dragon Shield at a later time and rebranded and whatnot. But I've just continued to use it and I found that it's what works for me. And personally, what I really like about this app is that it allows me to actually create essentially different folders and folders that I can relate to or basically pair up with the real in-life box. So I'll create a folder and I might call it Dominaria Remastered, right? So I'm going to open up a ton of Dominaria Remastered. Great. Now I have the physical box that is going to contain all the Dominaria Remastered cards, but within the app, I'm also using that and I'm labeling it and I'm keeping that. And that way, all of the cards that I'm keeping in that physical box are also being filed in that Dominaria Remastered folder so that I can keep track of the price of the individual cards and then also quickly recall them. And then if I do need to either trade or sell or whatever with those cards and I need to quickly locate them, I know exactly where to find them in physical storage. It's just very interesting to me that I don't think we spend enough time doing this. I will say that I'm not so crazy as to enter all the commons and uncommons I own of each copy. I just can't do it. I generally keep track of pricing so that if a common or an uncommon does spike, or if I see that one has ballooned up to $5 or $6, I still know where the physical location of those cards are at so that I can start quickly rifling through them to see how many copies I have of that card. But I'm not so much interested in keeping that in the app, as usually, you're going to end up with 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 copies of a common, but I do want to make sure that I know where my mythics and rares are at so that I can easily locate them, again, if I decide to trade them or whatnot. So do all of my cards go in there? No, I mentioned that I have a personal collection that I keep for myself as well, and for something like that, I might be more inclined to use a binder or storage like this. I personally really like these Dex binders. Again, no, not affiliated, not sponsored. It's just what I use for me and myself. So it's, again, how I can relate the best. But I really like these binders. They have these, really nice felt insides. They have like a layer in between. They've got, it's nothing special, but it is what I really like as far as what I might be more inclined to keep my personal collection into. I like that you can kind of wrap it up so that it's remains sealed. You don't have to worry about stuff falling out. But for my personal collection, I might still keep actual binders. But again, using that same app, I can create a folder within that app and say I can call it PC collection number 1. You can title it whatever you want. You can add pictures to it. I like that you can actually, within that Dragon Shield app, you can actually move the folders up or down so that I can actually, what I do is I have them by set, and I also have them by chronological release of the set because I'm a nut job and, I enjoy that sort of order and that sort of file tracking. But that is kind of what I use for me. I know that there are a ton of other apps out there. Again, I'm not sponsored by Dragon Shield. I'm just saying it because it's what I use and what I like, and it's a filing system that works for me. But in terms of me staying on top of the price of my personal collection, understanding what cards have gone up or down in value, being able to quickly find them, knowing what the value of those cards is, and then also being able to quickly find them in real life, that's what works for me. But I would love for any of you out there, I know that there's a ton of apps out there that people use for the tracking and monitoring of their cards and their collections. I would really love to hear from all of you. and I think it would be really good to share because, again, that's just one app that I use. I don't know all the other ones out there. So if you would share what app you like, what you use, and maybe just a sentence or two about why you like that particular app, I'm sure other people seeing this video and then reading the comments would appreciate that. The Dragon Shield app I do use, that is a free. There's like a premium version, which is like $1.99 or per year or something, I don't know. But most of the functionality in the app is free, including everything that I just mentioned as far as the tracking and storing and archiving of your collection, being able to create different folders. You can have wish lists in there. You can have trade wish lists in there. You can build decks within it. So, a lot of those functionalities are crossover between apps. A lot of those apps are doing the same thing, but that's it for me today. I just wanted to have a quick conversation. It's really interesting. I talked to friends, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I probably have that card somewhere in a pile on my desk somewhere." And I'm like, "What do you mean? Like you don't store it? It's just out there. Like how do you find stuff when you need it?" And it's almost like a running joke between some me and my friends. No, I'm not attacking anybody in particular. You know who you are. But I thought it was worth the conversation today. But again, if you have an app that you use for the tracking and for the archiving of your personal collections and your Magic the Gathering cards that you really like, I actually would appreciate if you would share it in the comments because I'm sure other people would like seeing the other options out there, what you do and what you don't like about it. That is it for me today. I hope you guys all enjoyed the video. I hope you guys enjoyed this type of conversation. I want to do more of it. I intend to do more of it. But if you did, and if you're not subscribed already, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button for me, hit the like button for me, and by all means, drop me some comments. I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much, and be well, everybody.